Okay, just a quick catch-up video on the Everdrive X5 from Krikzz. I'm sure as most of you know, it's a flash card for GBA and lets you play the ROMs directly on original hardware, like these GBA SPs I've got here, and it works really well. No patching needed. It's a really popular flash drive or flash card for that device. And now there's been a few changes in August, September since it's been released, mostly about updating the the bootloader and the operating system that it runs on, and that's mainly to get a lot better compatibility with all the micro SDs. And originally this Samsung one I've got didn't work at all, as many other cards didn't either. There was quite a bit of a problem with that, but there's been various OS updates. I think we're on version 1.11 now, and just about every card I've tried works flawlessly, so now the compatibility really isn't much of an issue. So that's been resolved with the regular support that Krikzz given his devices, and yeah, you should be able to get your ROMs on the card and work no problem. The other main thing that a lot of you might be aware of is that the updates not just improve the SD compatibility and the way the games are saved also. There's some changes the way that works to improve compatibility, but also it now supports emulators. So this cartridge will not just run GBA ROMs, it will also run NES ROMs, GameBoy ROMs, GameBoy Color ROMs, Game Gear ROMs, and Sega Master System ROMs. So quite a massive range of systems can get emulated on this, partly because of the power of the Game Boy Advance, really, the ability it's got in the hardware already to run some of those older systems. Now, those games obviously don't run natively. I'm not putting a cartridge in here that's effectively like a Game Gear cartridge or anything. It's just more software emulation, and you can tell by going in, or if you've got one of these cartridges, the GBA ED 5, what are we on about, X5? Yeah, X5. Okay, so down here, you tilt that properly, should be able to see that. You can put in the GBA sys folder, you put the emulator effectively, so you don't have to. In previous videos you see you could get the original ROM and then patch it to convert it to a .gba file and then play it, but now there's no patching needed at all. You just put the emulator sort of core, I guess, here. So here you can see I've got Goomba. So that one is made by user Dwedit, and there's forums about that. And Dwedit's even posted on Krikzz forums as well, so you can see what any changes maybe that might come up to this emulator to improve the compatibility. But effectively, it plays all Game Boy games and Game Boy Color games without any issue. There are some ROMs that maybe don't work 100%, but then that's always been the case with the emulator. And also bear in mind that because you'd be running Game Boy ROMs through this, the emulator is what's offering the functionality. So if the emulator doesn't support link games, for example, so if you've got something like tennis, if you put tennis, if you played tennis directly in here and another SP, the multiplayer would work fine. But if you play tennis through the emulator, then it won't, because the emulator doesn't support link play. So you've got to bear in mind that you will be limited by however the emulator supports that function. But by and large, it does all of the relevant needed functions of it, so it works fine. Okay, Pocket NES. That's also, I think, by Dwedit. That emulates the NES games. Then down here, you've got SMS Advance, which will emulate the Sega Master System and Game Gear. So once you've put those files in there, and there's links on, I think there's a link to one of those on Krikzz site, and then it's obviously easy to find the file you need anyway. You put those in there, then if I go back a directory, you can just drop your ROMs in a particular folder. So I've got the Game Boy Advance ones as I did before. They work as normal. Let's pick a random one. Ghost Rider. Okay, so fire that one up. Again, obviously there's no patches needed or anything like that. So that still works absolutely fine. And as I said, the SD card's compatibility have improved now, so you shouldn't have any issues running those on whatever card you've got. etc, etc. That'll work fine. Okay, so if I restart that, then I can go into the Game Gear folder. Now these are just dropped in there, and I haven't sorted them or anything, but they're unpatched. They're just literally the standard ROM. So if I pick a randomish one that sounds at least as though it's in English. What was that in? Game Gear, right, okay, so Outrun, give that a go. Okay, so as you can see, the screen is sort of kept to a certain aspect ratio, so you haven't got use of the full screen, but then you wouldn't need that anyway. Also, I'm not 100% sure on the actual pixel ratio, so I think to support this, it's probably not 100% exactly the right pixel ratio. It's just the sort of best that's appropriate on this type of screen. So, you know, if you take a look at the tech specs, you'll probably find it's slightly out, but you can't tell really. Okay. There's information on that as well on the Krikzz forum about the res that these run at, and more so on Dwedit's forum, so you can get a lot more detail there. Actually, if I press both of these, it's not, this one isn't Dwedit, it's made by Flubber. This is the SMS emulator. So both of the shoulder buttons pressed at once get you into the menu, and you can tweak that as much as you like. So you've got you've got display options that you can change to get it as you'd expect it. I think, what else we got? Link transfer, go multi-boot, save manager. So it supports save games, I think. I haven't tried, so don't hold me to that. Other settings, frames per second, region settings, use the BIOS. So, you know, you can tweak that just as much as the emulator allows. And as you can see, it fires up fine. So let's see if we can start this one off. But there you go, you get the idea. If I go exit here, I don't think it'll send me back, it'll just send me back to the start of the game. There we go. Okay, right, next one. Game Boy. Okay, so that used the Goomba emulator by Dwedit. I've put these in alphabetical order, so let's go Super Mario World. Super Mario Land, I mean, yep. Okay, right, let's try that. Oh, and I did try saving the game with this one, it does work. Yeah, so that facility is supported. Just move the camera a second. Okay. Right, so you can see by default it's gone for its sort of slightly colour option, but again, both shoulder buttons, you can get into the menu, and if I choose display, palette, I quite like grayscale, but there you go. That's sort of tweakable. I think if I go into the menu, load wherever I saved from before. Wait, is that right? There we go, I loaded it. Yeah, pressing the wrong button, that's all. Yeah, so it supports save states fine. And it's a great little emulator and a great device to allow you to be able to play Game Boy games without having the Game Boy cartridges sort of lugging about, and actually I think they stick out even more than that on the end of the cartridge there, so it's not so bad. Okay, so that was Game Boy. Next one, I won't do Game Boy Color, you can imagine that, it's the same but more colour. Okay, so next one is Master System, let's try that. So that's the same emulator that ran the Game Gear one. We've got, let's try Sonic. There we go, no problems at all. And I'm pretty sure this just uses the same option menu as well, so I can go in there, I can tweak the settings as I want to. Okay, usually I am better than this, it's just I've got to strain over the camera, that's all. And so on, you get the idea. But yeah, the ROMs work absolutely fine. Okay, so that was the Master System. Then the last one we check out is the NES. And I've shown that in a previous video, but before that was kind of like patching the ROM up as a Game Boy Advance ROM using that emulator, but now it's just sort of native ROM files really, played through the software emulator. Let's try this, whatever that one was. That doesn't look good. Okay, either it's not compatible with that ROM or there's a problem with that ROM. Like I say, it's not 100% compatibility with the games, but vast majority I've tried work, no problems. Let's try another one. Okay, NES, random one, L, Legend of Robin Hood, try that. There we go. I'm not sure that's right. I mean, I've never played this game, but that looks like it might not quite be right. What display options are there? Scaled, ooh. Unscaled. I'm pretty sure you want scaled. But let's try a game I recognise. Let's try Super Mario World. There are some compatibility sheets as well, so there are a lot of tests that have been done on the game, so you can see which ones should work before you try it out. What was I going for? Super Mario something. That one, let's try that. Oh, need to pay attention. Check the options again. Display. So this one's Pocket NES by Duedit. Yeah, scaled again. Okay, you can see it change in the background then when I change the scaled options, but that one should do it. So you've got a whole library of whatever game, NES games you've got, you can try on this one as well. It works absolutely fine, it controls really well. There's no sort of extra lag or anything because it's using the emulator. It's pretty good. Okay, so I would recommend checking those out because it's just a feature that's enabled in the new not firmware, operating system. So it's version 1.11 I'm using here, and you can also see there's a couple of other features added. I think if you hit select and under options, you can now hide that GBA sys folder. So if I go back here, and you can see it's no longer there, so it kind of tidies up your listing as well, because it looks a bit odd if you don't use it for whatever reason. Well, you don't really need to, it just tidies it up and looks much better. So it's a great little tweak that's been enabled there. Yeah, and that's the only other main area, I think. So it's mainly SD compatibility is improved, great emulator support for those systems I showed you, and also a little tweak there for GBA sys on and off, and I think some save game methods have improved as well. That's it really. And some of you have asked what model Game Boy Advance actually I'm using there, and that's just the 101, so it's a bit brighter, that's all. I've got the standard one, which is a bit more common, easily picked up, 001. What you can do, if you find some of these on eBay are a bit pricey, you can get the Chinese version, and it's not a knockoff, it's officially licensed. It's just the Chinese model is made by iQIYI. So if, I think it's still officially Nintendo and they license it out, but the iQIYI also has the backlit model, but it's a bit cheaper, so it could be worth going for that. But yeah, one thing I've used as well on this quite a lot is, rather than, I suppose it's not necessarily relevant to the GBA X5, Everdrive X5, but with the SPs, you can quite happily support multiplayer with the original cartridges as well, and that's a pretty good setup you can have with the right sort of cable. Hook these up to different ones you've got, and you have a decent game of tennis, which is surprisingly a good game given its age, and Tetris. And I think that's it. If you've got any questions, put them in the comments and I'll try to help out. Hopefully that was useful, and as always, another great product from Krikzz.